What's going on, all you wonderful people? I'll let you decide whether I'm absolutely insane, crazy person, or this is some next level information that has been around since the ancient times and the ancient of days, and the ancestors and the elders knew this. They just told it to us in a different way. And I'm going to make some connections between televisions, liquid, liquid crystal displays, plasma TVs, the plasma in your blood, what is called spin glass. Um, I'm going to weave some things together, and it's really a very simple and direct linkage to things here, and it should be easily visualized. This is why I don't make these 3D things, and I try not to make the... That's why I kind of took down all my other videos, because I felt like there was just too many videos, and there was too many pieces of information for everybody to put together. And I'll put it together here in front of you, in your mind, like, so you can think about it and visualize it and see it for yourself and understand what your blood plasma, your pineal gland, what crystals are, magnets. This is all of what I was working on and trying to show you in different ways and little bits and pieces. But with, almost, I don't know, 500 videos, it just seemed like too much, too many breadcrumbs and too many what seemed to be divergent paths for people to follow. So they couldn't really understand what was being said. And it's very easy if you can look at your body internally and externally. Like if you look inside of yourself, it's hard to see inside of yourself. I mean, there's blood in you, there's bones, and you've been told your bones are basically crystals, and you know that inside your bones is bone marrow, and you can kind of get an idea of what that's made of, and we get an understanding of what's inside of our body, and then we can look outside of us and see that, okay, there's these things outside of us that are somehow representative of the human body. We can look at, say, that Tesla coil right there, and say, what does that remind us of? Is that the human skull? Is that what's going on inside the skull? Is that an eyeball? Isn't that kind of what an eyeball looks like? Isn't that strange? And then we can look at televisions and say, well, they're made of plasma, and they're made of liquid crystals, and we know that within our blood we have blood plasma. And then we can start to look at the cellular structure of the blood, and the work that I just did recently on spherocytis and the two different types of and again, it's not, I don't think it's really two different types. I just think it's one thing that has been changed. So you look at the blood, and then what happens is initially it looks like a flat concave disc, like a UFO, and then it gets filled up with a substance, and it becomes a sphere, and it becomes very dense, and it can't transition the materials inside of it. So what's inside of the cell can't be pushed out into the plasma, and the plasma can't push what's in the plasma into it. So there's something that's occurring there. But let me try to explain this to you through the it's not even an allegory, it's an actuality of what's going on inside of the body and what you see around you, and try to give some references, some hyper references. I like to use that word, hyper referential sources, meaning that there's almost a holographic nature to things. And I'm going to use the holographic nature, meaning what's inside of your body is a hologram. So if you look outside of you, and you know what a hologram is, it's like you shine a light into something, and it refracts, or it refracts that piece of light information into a billion pieces of the same piece of information. But now if you were to scuff up or dirty up one of the lenses, then some of that information wouldn't be correctly reproduced. Now if we think of the body in the same way, and if we think of a television in the same way, it has plasma or liquid crystals, and what crystals do is they refract information or light. Now if in your body you have blood plasma that's dirty, or cells that are dirty, well, then you're not going to be refracting that light. And if we know that the pineal gland should be the master gland, a lot of people say it should be, basically it's a crystal, it's a liquid crystal, and if we use that as a source of, oh, that's where the light should be coming from. This is why they say the light should be in your skull. It should be right in between. What do they tell you? They say cross your eyes and look up into your forehead. and that's where you should be looking, because that's the point of where your pineal gland is. Now, before we go too far down that path and getting into, okay, well, we got to get our pineal gland fired up. Let's back up a little bit. Okay, if you're when you're born, you came through what is called amniotic fluid. Now, the word amniotic, we can think of amnesia and we can think of anemia. Now, these are very, very, very similar words, and we notice something about what is urine or Orion. And I'm just going to give a couple words, and these are just to play with in your mind. Don't key in too much on anything other than the visualization process here. So when you're born, you're in a sac of amniotic fluid. You're inside of a cell, and inside of that cell is basically urine. It's amniotic fluid. It's the same thing, just a different name for the same thing. So you can think of it in the same way. When you're inside of your mother's womb, inside of a sac of amniotic fluid, it's the same thing as, like, right now inside of your body you have a bunch of cells inside of you, and outside of those cells is a bunch of fluid, and inside is a different type of fluid, and there should be an exchange that occurs, an exchange between what is called the nighttime and the daytime elements. So there's magnesium, potassium, calcium, and sodium. Now those should be exchanging places, but sometimes when there's a density that happens and the fluid in each place isn't of the correct densities, there's no exchange made. So if you can't exchange those fluids, then things get like the structure of the wall. So the structure of the cell won't allow the passing through the membrane. It should be a permeable membrane within each cell, just like your skin. If you think of your skin as one body, if you clog up your skin, you're not going to sweat well, and if you don't sweat well, you're going to clog yourself up. But if you sweat, you're going to get rid of those things that are inside of you to have the exchange made where, okay, you take in some fluid, you drink something, and now you've put new fluid in your body and you sweat something out. There's an exchange occurring there. Now, in the sense of the fluid that we live within when we're a child, like as a newborn, we're inside of a sac of urine. Now, we know that you can look this up. Urine is called plasma ultrafiltrate. Simple to do. You can look it up right now. And if we're talking about plasma here, we're talking about blood plasma. And if it's ultrafiltrate, it means it's the cleanest thing. So what would you want in your body? You'd want the cleanest thing. Now, once you have that cleanest thing, that cleanest plasma, okay, because I was on this thing like, okay, well, we gotta clean our bodies, we gotta use urine therapy, all of this. I mean, that's great, but then what? Then what? You have a clean plasma, but you have no nothing to project with. So if you have a clean television screen, until you turn it on, nothing occurs, right? So in the same way, that television screen, whether it's a liquid crystal or it's a plasma, there needs to be a source of light and information of a projecting unit, and that would be where the vision comes from. That becomes where the screen that you see what's happening, and that's the same thing that's going on in your head, in your pineal gland, that actually gets. Now, you follow me on this craziness. That's what happens throughout your entire body. But if you have clean fluid, it's going to light up your entire body with that same entire frequency, vision, and idea. But if you have dirty fluid and dirty plasma, it's not going to get into other parts of your body. It's going to be useless to do. It'd be useless for, I could tell 100 people this, and 99 people, they could try to do this. They could try to do half of the things that I've ever spoke about in all of my videos, and it wouldn't have any benefit for them because their plasma would be too dirty. I could tell people about allomancy. I could tell people, okay, go consume some, people are like, oh, go eat some silver. Go eat, we need colloidal silver. And it's not going to do anything for them. I mean, it might for a little bit. It might just take a little bit of the, it's antibacterial, antifungal, and it might take away for a second the dilemma, but it's not taking away the source dilemma, which is the dirty plasma, the dirty fluid in the body. But so to consuming any element, it's like in a lot of my earlier work, I would tell people like, oh, you know why these plant substances don't work for people? Like, oh, because, well, they're still maintaining the same diet. They're still maintaining, they still have clogged pipes. They haven't fasted. They haven't cleaned their colon. They haven't cleaned their gallbladder, their liver, their kidneys. They're all a mess. So what? So you could take 1,000 pounds of green tea and the nani fruit, and you could take it's the $70 an ounce, the greatest superfood in the world, and it's not going to do anything. Because it's just the same way, if you had a dirty television screen, I don't care how much you pay for that movie you want to watch. I don't care how cool and clean and wonderful and crystal clear that movie is if you have a dirty screen, if you have dirty plasma. So everything that I've ever said in all these videos, it's basically pointless and useless to 99.9% of people, so it doesn't matter. It was funny, Grim Nasty was talking about something the other day, like saying, like, nobody wants your blood is dirty. Like, people are like, oh, they're gonna come drink my blood, they want your... No, nobody wants your blood. It's a mess. If your blood was clean, then maybe, but most people, and that's the thing too, and it's not even something outside of you. It's a way to holographically project your own image inside of yourself to become, to push that out into the world. And until you clean your plasma, it doesn't matter what you're projecting. And then once you get to that point, once the plasma is clean, then you need a point of projection, a point of focus, a point of defining, like, so here, try it this way. Let me use this example. I was talking to somebody about the putting a crystal in water. Okay, if you take a crystal and you put it in water, it's going to organize that water. It's going to use like Masaru Emoto's work. You can organize water in a certain way. Now that's great, wonderful. But what is it? It's okay. So it's organized and it's put in a certain way. But what is its purpose at that point? Okay, we can do that. We can put a crystal in water. Great. Now what? That's the same way as cleaning your television but not turning it on. So then there's other things that you can put in the water that becomes the point of reference to refract information throughout the system. So so it's in the same way. Let me try this again. If you have a dirty system and I say, here, eat this tiny little piece of gold, eat this little piece of eat this flower, eat this root, it's not going to do anything. It will just, okay, here, it'll clean up, and maybe it'll clean up a little spot in your body. Maybe it will, it'll help you with this little thing. Maybe, yeah, that colloidal silver is going to clean out and be antifungal and antibacterial for part of your body, but the source problem is still the dirty plasma. Now, if we alter that and change that to the point of understanding what that our blood is our blood and what surrounds it is the UFO and the plasma, which it's the television screen and the projecting unit. If we understand that and we start cleaning that, and then we add to it whatever it is as a single bit of information, whatever it might be. You could take the tiniest little drawing, and we'll call a drawing a chamomile flower. Okay, if you have clean blood, you could take the littlest piece of chamomile into your system, and it would reflect and refract throughout the entire clean plasmic screen, which is your entire body. It's all your fluid, and that's all you would need, and you would get off on that tiny little thing. You could drink. If you're dirty, you could drink 50 pounds. You could. Here's a gallon of chamomile tea. It doesn't matter. It's not going to help you. Like, yeah, maybe you'll fall asleep, but okay. So now, are you starting to see this connection between the plasma, the liquid crystal, the elements that we put in our body? And so why everything that I was saying through all of my videos, and why I was like, well, I should probably just take these down. I don't know these are just like tiny little things that it's not going to make any sense. It won't have any effect. It will have no use for people. It doesn't really matter that I'm saying. Like I used to say this on my videos, it doesn't matter that I'm saying this. Like who cares? It's not going to. Okay, go try this part. It's not going to do anything for you. Now, what does this have to do with this other little picture I put over here in the corner? It's called spin glass. I don't know why. I looked it up the other day. I don't know where it came from, the word. I don't know. And it was really interesting because it's the connection to crystalline structures and magnetics. and how things put themselves in a certain order, and it was really interesting. So I would suggest anybody take a look at what spin glass is and see if that resonates with you, to give you a little bit of an understanding of organization of the structures of molecules. I mean, because obviously, if a piece of glass is the same thing as a quartz crystal, is the same thing as a diamond, is the same thing as carbon. It's all the same thing. It's just rearranged and organized differently. Now, when we get to that, we're talking about the organization of those structures within a plasmic field. Now, we're in a larger plasmic field, as we can kind of understand. It's always moist outside. It's always wet. There's always some sort of water. There's always I mean, we can look at it this way, and I like to get into this for flat Earth people. See that thing right there, that Tesla coil? Okay, well, we're inside of a sphere. This is for people that think we live on a sphere. Well, maybe I think we live in a sphere, and so if you put a flat surface in there, we're living in that, on that, right? So the energy we're putting out comes. It can get out of there, is what I'm saying. Have you ever put your hand on a ball of that, a Tesla ball? It's spitting out plasma. Like, whether we're inside of that or outside of that, that's why there's electrical storms. That's why there's, it's all that same thing happening outside of you is happening inside of your body and inside of your head. And it's just a matter of ordering it and organizing it. Now, it doesn't, all of this, okay, yeah, we're under a dome, we're inside the earth, and we're outside, like, it's all irrelevant, because it's all just consciousness at the higher realms. And I don't mean to take this big, just crazy leap of, okay, let's get back to like some sort of, I don't want to call it science. I mean, it is science. It's very sciencey. You can check it out. Look it on the Googles. You go check out all the resources. But when you kind of organize the information, it does seem to appear. It does appear that these quartz crystals, that spin glass, that magnetism, that plasma is all actually inside of your body, throughout your fluidium system, which is your blood. And this goes into the red bloods and blue bloods, the veins and the arteries. It has to get into the lymph system. The lymph system is yellow. That's the idea, and it's trying to push out what becomes your sweat. Again, what's coming out as sweat is similar to, it's coming from your blood, the fluids we're putting in, and this gets back to the urine once again. The urine, which is Orion's belt. Watch the movie Men in Black. That cat the cat's name is Orion, and inside of Orion's belt is Pandora's box, basically. And we're going to get into all those, those are all fun stories to tell, and I'll tell that story for everybody another time and make it a little more interesting. But watch that movie, and when we decode and destruct pull apart and show each letter and how the language works, we can understand what Orion is, and what Pan is, and Pandora's box, and Pan's labyrinth, and it's a really fun story once you see how all of these movies are telling you something really interesting about what I think is all about this plasmic nature of your internal blood environments, and how to turn your blood back into the discs that they should be. And then we could get into blood types. I'm going to do that very soon, because there's some really interesting things now that I've kind of done some research on the different types of blood: the A, the B, the AB, the O, the rhesus negative and positive. And there's actually one more that I've never heard anybody speak about, and it's called RH null, which there's only, I think, I don't know, maybe 10 people on the planet that have. It's pretty interesting stuff. It has to do with antibodies and antigens, and it's really, really cool stuff. And I've been very interested. I didn't know. I just figured, everybody's. For me, my thought was always this: everybody's got clean blood or dirty blood. That's all there is to it. Like, and it seems to me like maybe it's just a way of dividing up the factors. Like, right now we go, okay, there's A, there's B, there's O, and then there's this recessive gene, whether people have it or they don't, which has to do with the rhesus monkey gene and all of this. And then, okay, and this is just a way of properly dividing it up amongst people that have scientific minds. And I was always like, no, it's either dirty blood or clean blood. And that's maybe that's where it is. Maybe that's really what it is. And so if everybody were to just clean their blood with proper fluid, distilled water, fruits, their own urine, their own filtrate, plasma ultrafiltrate, that they would be able to start to clean up their brain, their mind, their memories, because your mind is made of water and plasma. Like, that's what we need to clean out our brains, and that is actually, what telekinesis is, how we can speak, how people can speak to animals, how it's like you think of somebody and poof, they just call you, or that weird, right? Yeah. Because I think the biggest thing is like, oh, it's just way more magical here than anybody would ever, like, oh, that's just a movie, that's fake, that's magic. Like, no, that's science and magic, like they tell you in Thor, like, this is the place where science and magic come together, like that kind of idea, that the magic is your mind and your imagination, and the science is, well, we can show you how this actually works. It's just you didn't have the tools to actually measure numerically, or measure in a way you couldn't see and visualize it the right way. So hopefully this was a fun story for you. I don't know where else I was going to go with this, other than just like giving you an outer and an inner version of how your reality is produced and projected, and how to clean up what's in your body, and what to put in it. And yeah, guys, we'll have some more fun talks soon. Hopefully this does something cool for you. Stay awesome, do cool things, inspire the world. If you can't do that, at least inspire yourself.